and we are almost around 45 students from 50 students almost around of division A TYBMS, and this is a session for logistics supply chain management. And let's do a quick recap in terms of what we have done last. Okay, so in my last class what we have done is we have seen the difference between the supply chain management and logistics. Okay, uh, along with that, I had also told you that all the sessions are recorded and the same content is uploaded on YouTube for your perusal. Okay, which is for your review and careful examination. Okay, so this is session 4, and this is session 5. Okay, and today's link will also be generated and will be shared with you on this notes. All right. Yes, in my last class we had understood the difference between supply chain management and logistics. We had seen the future supply chain group where we had learned about the concepts of time to market and cost to market. Okay, so there is where we had also understood stock keeping unit and unique product code. Okay, now very important. Now see, this is not there in your syllabus, but since you are learning about logistics, you need to know the crux. Okay, stock keeping unit, a basic differentiation. SKU can change from retailer, wholesaler to distributor, but unique program code will remain always the same. Example is there in front of you. Once it is been inscribed on a particular product, it will remain the same till the life of the product. Okay, till the life means till the time it's actually going to the consumer. Okay, going to be consumed by the consumer. All right. Unique program code is for external purposes, which is for outer. Okay, SKU is for internal purposes, which is for internal management. Okay, at a retail level, at a wholesaler level, at a stockist level, wherever it is being used. Okay, so that's the basic two difference between SKU and UPC. Please remember this. Last time I had only exposed you to SKU, where SKU is being used. So is in my next, which is corresponding class today, we are learning about basic difference about SKU. Okay. Then we had seen the future supply chain group where we had learned about certain terms, put to light, cross dock. Okay. Today we are going to see more detail in terms of cross docking facility also. Okay. So every day we are learning some new technical terms, so that slowly, steadily you are up the curve. Okay. And you will be able to enough. One person has dropped it. Okay, you will be able to specifically learn. Okay, what are the technicalities which are there in the industry for this particular subjects. So then we also learned about what are pallets, the wooden pallets on which the items move, conveyor belts, high value items which are being usually moved across with respect to cages. Okay, and also I had shared a link with you for uh, a research paper which is a study on impact of DMart on small grocery retailers, which is consumers' perceptives in the city of Bhilwara, which is in Rajasthan. Okay, I would have loved if anyone would have actually come out with a query. So this was a research paper which was being shared. Okay, with you. I hope you got to have a look at it. Okay, now what is your usual nature to visit DMart? Okay, planned, unplanned, and time pass. So see, majorly is being planned 69%. Okay, how often do you go to the shop at DMart? Okay, it's always now a Likert scale, always, often, sometimes, never. Okay, so this is easy. You will be able to get it through Google Forms. Okay, what is important from a researcher point of view is something which is cross tabulation. Okay, cross tabulation means something like this, where you will have to feed in this data. Okay, and you need to know where do you prefer to go to do your grocery shopping, DMart, online, traditional retail stores. Okay, for a weekly shop to buy specific items, for a gathering I don't. Okay, all the items are available, so depending upon the type of classification they are able to classify. Okay, what is the purpose? So that's known as cross tabulation. All right, what is the main reason of shopping in DMart? Is it for a weekly shopping? Is it to buy specific items? For a gathering I don't use. Okay, so if you see, I don't use is only two, all items available at one place. Okay, they prefer online. Okay, but if you would majorly see, for a weekly shopping is on a higher number, to buy specific items on a higher number. Why is buy specific items on a higher number? Okay, because you would see that they are offering discounts. They are able to have the cost advantage. Okay, and that exactly the chi-square test signifies why, what is their interpretation. Okay, I would want you to go through this research paper. It's really going to help you. Okay, 68% of the respondents usually in usual nature to visit DMart is planned. Okay, 90% of respondents said that the amount of purchase from traditional retail stores have reduced after commencement of DMart, and which is true. Okay, I've seen corresponded with many consumers for this matter. All right, what are the suggestions? What are the limitations? What is the conclusion? So this is how a research paper is supposed to be tabled. Okay, and what are the future research directions? So instead of Bhilwara region, this can also be studied generalized for any other region. Okay, like say Mumbai, can it be generalized? You need to check. Okay, COVID-19 pandemic, what is the impact? Believe me, there was a study which was being made by one student with respect to opening of a DMart and its impact on the local Kirana grocery store during Corona. Okay, and if the DMart wouldn't have opened, the local Kirana grocery store would have made huge business. Okay, would have said that okay, the grocery, the food grain prices are higher. Okay, since they are not able to source it properly, and they would have taken undue advantage of the shortened supply. Okay, and the pseudo demand which was being created, which DMart did not. Okay, we might have observed. Okay, so yes, it has helped the economy, it has helped the middle class people, as well as in certain areas where I have observed, specifically in Andheri. Okay, wherever these DMarts are, they have literally kept the economical class budget in check. Okay, now how did I get this? When I had actually read about this in Harvard Business Review, HBR magazine. Okay, so there is where I got this topic, impact of DMart. Okay, then we had learned about marketing effectiveness. So consumer segmentation, targeting, positioning. Okay, which is on the basis of brand value, corporate image, availability. Okay, multiplied that with the help of customer franchisee. Okay, which is specifically the different outlets. Okay, quick response like DMart ready shops. All right, and effective customer service, which is established through supply chain effectiveness, which is lowest cost. Okay, reduced inventory. Okay, I told you about how reduced inventory is significant, right? We did that Excel sheet exercise, remember? All right, and then we came on to a conclusion that it's equivalent to marketing effectiveness, where they're able to retain more customers. Okay, increase their market share, and of course generate a handsome return on their investment. Okay, so that is what we had discussed. So today in the start of our class, I have, today is 8 July. I have spoken to you about Super Growth Summit, which is on 10 July registration. Okay, instead of John DeMartini, I have on positive psychology, Tel Ben Shahar. Okay, I have discussed two other speakers with you. It's Vijik and Gaur Gopal Das. All right, so that's being done. You should also research about him. Positive psychology, Tel Ben Shahar. His lectures literally go full. Okay, give me a minute. Is positive psychology to Ben Shah. So in case if you would want to know this person, okay, this is the person who is going to be there for your program, Dr. John G. Machini. Okay, so don't worry, you're going to see him. But Telban Shahar, he is on YouTube. You'll be able to follow him on YouTube as well. Cool. Go forward. Okay, so today we're going to talk about Food Corporation of India. Now, since we were talking about logistics, okay, we were talking about, okay, let me close all this. Huh. We were talking about Food Corporation India. We were speaking about logistics. Okay, so we were here. All right. Now the next topic, which is specifically in terms of activity in logistics. Now, if you really want to understand, okay, logistics supply chain management, you need to check in terms of how government procures items. Okay, how they are able to distribute the items, and how they are able to store the items. Okay, So on the basis of this, it's a elementary to need to know that we need to cover certain factors like network design, information, transportation, inventory, and slowly, steadily, we are going to learn all this because these are all individual chapters. By the way, these are all individual chapters. So what you are able to see. So logistic information system, network design, transportation, modes of transportation, inventory management, and warehousing is one chapter. In your syllabus, material handling is another chapter, and packaging. Okay, so today we are going to see some part of network design. All right, but before we see network design, we need to understand how network design is instrumental in terms of distribution of food products to two-thirds of the population of India, which is established through Food Corporation of India, which is Food Corporation, FCI. Okay, it's a statutory body created and run by the Government of India. It is under jurisdiction of Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Government of India, formed by the enactment of Food Corporation Act, FCA, 1964, and it originated in 1965. Please remember this. Okay. As a case study, I would like to bring to your notice that this is an elementary understanding which you need to know in case if you have covered logistics. The reason why, the ratification behind that is, okay, if you would observe, okay, this is the public distribution system. Now the Food Corporation of India is responsible for national food security. Okay, national food security, it means it is responsible for public distribution, PDS system, the ration system. Okay, the ration card system. See here, I've noted down PDS system. So as per the PDS system, there is 35 kg per family per month. Okay, is supposed to be distributed. 35 kg of what? 35 kg of food grains. Like for example, 7 kg of wheat, 7 kg of rice, 2 kg of, or 5 kgs of wheat. Okay, 1 kg of coarse grains like dal. Okay, and 3 kgs or 5 kgs of sugar. Okay, 1 liter of earlier there was kerosene also, now it is being removed. In some places it is being still being given. Okay, kerosene, which is cooking oil. Okay, and then actual vegetable oil. Okay, so that is all, this is being distributed to below poverty line population. Okay, and at a cost. What is the cost? Let's see the cost. Now this is the National Food Security Act website. Okay, I'm referring to the public government portal. All right, where public distribution system, and we are seeing, okay, it was started in 1965, which we have seen in terms of Food Corporation of India. All right. Important things which you need to note over here is here. Acha, before we discuss this, can anybody tell me what is the rate of rice and wheat what you are procuring? Wheat you might be procuring somewhere around say 35 rupees per kg. Yes. And rice you might be procuring somewhere around 50 or 60 rupees per kg. Right? Good, a good decent quality I'm asking you. All right. But the price at what the public distribution system, the below poverty line people get is 2 rupees per kg for wheat and 3 rupees per kg for rice. This is the rate at which the government is distributing, okay, under the PDS system, public distribution system. And this is made possible because of Food Corporation of India or the public distribution system, okay, which is under Food Securities Act, FSA, okay, National Food Securities Act. Are we clear about this? And it's not for once in a year, it is per month basis. Okay, see, per month, can you see that? So almost around 35 kg per family per month has to be distributed, okay, with respect to from 1st April 2002. Are we clear? Okay, and the number of below poverty line families, now see, you are able to see the number as of now here will be almost around 2010 2011, but let us see in terms of how much is the current uh, population. Okay, so BPL population in India. Since 2011, it has not populated, but the United Nations estimate the number of poor in the country to be 364 million in 2000, okay, or 28% of the population. So let's take this number. So it's 28% of the population, which is specifically now United Nations is credible, okay. Now see, the earlier statistics was this: nearly two-thirds of people live in poverty. 68% of the Indian population lives on less than $2, so which is the per capita income. Okay, but below poverty line poverty line is 28% of the population. Are we understanding this? Yes. Kindly give me a confirmation on this. Which is huge number, by the way. Okay, let's have a look at one more website, which will give us the actual number, world meter. So this is current world population, which is 7.8 billion. Let's check with respect to country wise. Here, the top is 1.439, which is there's a change. See, can you see that change? 0.39% is positive change. Here, India is growing by 1% on yearly basis. Okay, on yearly basis. So I believe in next and one decade, okay, we are going to surpass China. All right. What is important for us as of now? Below poverty line people. Fertility rate is higher. See, can you see that? Median age is still little better, but in terms of one decade from now, okay, we are going to have problems. So if you see China, urban population is 61%. India is half of it, almost half of it. Okay, and according to the world share, we are 17% of the population of the world, and China is 18%, 18.5. Okay. Now we go into India. Okay, and here we need to check, because we have come down in terms of population. We are coming down, but still not a good statistics. So as of now, below poverty line data is not there mentioned on this. No problem. I think we'll stick to that. What we received from is 28% of the population. So 28% of what population is for which we came onto this screen, okay, where we are able to see 1.380 is the current population of India. Okay. All right. So roughly around 3 times. So 39. This number would be somewhere around 39. Do you agree with me? Yes or no? So it's 39 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7, yes. Okay, so this much is the amount of people who are there, okay, below poverty line, for which the number of people, the number of supply has to be done for, okay, the population. Okay, at what rate? At this rate, which is 2 rupees per kg for wheat and 3 rupees per. How is it able to do that when we are procuring wheat and rice at 35 rupees or 50, 60 rupees per kg? Okay, so there is where we need to learn about Food Corporation of India. Okay, and of course its government is actually giving them at a subsidized rate. Okay, but all this is being actually borne, the cost is borne by the government, and at many places the government is able to procure these items from different places. Okay, and able to distribute these items into rare areas. Okay, where the population is less, the density is less. Okay, however they will be still be supplied with the with the resources, specifically uh, uh, specifically hilly areas, Leh, Ladakh, Lakshadweep, uh, Nicobar, Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Okay, and this has to be supplied again at the same rate. Okay, under the public distribution system. All right. Yes, they are eliminating the middlemen. You are right. However, it's an entire gamut or myriad of activities which are actually responsible for uh, delivering this. However, there's a huge amount of loss which is also being taken by the government. Okay, absorbed by the government. But please remember, now food grains which are being distributed via this public distribution system, okay, they are being taken from the farmers at an MSP. What is MSP? Can anybody tell me MSP? MSP in agriculture farming. You've learned about this. When the farmers were agitating, the government said we are going to increase the MSP, and the MSP is much more better. Minimum support price. Yes, Sanya, very nice. Okay, so the government will be taking it at the MSP, but they will be distributing to the population at the subsidized rate. Are we clear? So let's hit Food Corporation of India. We see its background and then we come back, okay, to our discussion. All right. You there with me, class? Cool. Good one, Tanvi.
As India attained independence, the crucial challenge was ensuring food security for the growing population. To eradicate hunger and malnutrition, the public distribution system evolved as a mechanism for the management and distribution of food grains at affordable prices to cover more than 30 crore people spread across varied geographical territories. For these schemes to operate effectively, food grains had to be produced, procured, stored, transported, and distributed to every nook and corner of the country. Thus came into being FCI, Food Corporation of India, in 1965. It was tasked with a multi-pronged mandate of procurement, storage, transportation, and distribution of food grains in the country.
Okay, so procurement, storage, distribution, and transportation. Okay, four major important element. Now, since you have learned about supply chain, you are all aware about, okay, what are these, what is the video talking about? All right. Okay, that's the reason why I had to do that ground base building, so that you are able to, okay, carry yourself up the curve and understand this.
From its humble beginning in Tanjavur, with just 4 regional offices, FCI has grown as one of the largest public sector undertakings, with a network of more than 2,000 offices spread through the length and breadth of the country. Its turnover has increased from a mere 130 crores in 1965 to more than 100,000 crores over the last 50 eventful years. Every year, FCI, along with other government agencies,
This is a mandi. okay, where the farmers come and complete their transaction, okay, the MSP price.
Procures food grains through a huge network of over 25,000 purchase centers and facilitates the farmers to sell their produce at minimum support price, saving them from the tentacles of exploitative middlemen. From a modest quantity of 2.6 million tons of food grains in 1965, the procurement has grown by leaps and bounds to over 60 million tons. The storage of millions of tons of procured rice and wheat is the next daunting task. These stocks are stored and preserved in over 2,000 godowns and cover and plinth complexes with capacities ranging as small as 500 metric tons to as large as 3.5 lakh metric tons.
Okay. There's a huge warehouse in between Borivali and Kandivali. I don't know whether you have seen. If you travel by train and if you're facing towards Borivali, okay, if you're coming from say Andheri to Borivali, on your right hand side there will be a warehouse, big warehouse near that army cantonment area, okay, which is very closer to the railway tracks. The reason why it's very closer to the railway tracks, so that it's able to easily transport items onto a long distance region, okay. So that's at Borivali. I think it's BVI, okay, Food Corporation of India.
The health of stored food grains is monitored periodically and preserved scientifically by undertaking prophylactic as well as curative treatment of stocks. FCI has been performing the Herculean task of transporting food grains from surplus states like Punjab, Haryana, Andhra Pradesh to deficit states of Northeast, Jammu and Kashmir, Karnataka, etc. Every year, FCI moves more than 400 lakh metric tons of food grains over an average distance of 1500 kilometers.
That is how it is still being transported, huh, by the way. People carry it on their back, put it up in the train compartments. Okay. And this is a lorry from which it is, or truck which is from which it is being transported.
Through rail, road, and ship to areas as far flung as Andaman Nicobar Islands and Leh Ladakh. FCI undertakes distribution of about 550 lakh metric tons of food grain to the different states and union territories under the targeted public distribution system every year.
Okay, so we have spoken about public distribution system, and here is it. Okay, so before starting that at actual Food Corporation of India, we have spoken about what is a public distribution system, what do they do, okay, and to how much population, okay, they are able to supply. Okay, so can I write BPL population? Okay, so that is how you will be you can also come to a conclusive data, okay, for your studies or research. Okay, now what the other thing what I have not shown you is you are not entitled for this distribution, because you might be falling into this category. You might be having a white, blue, pink or red ration card. Okay, if you are having a orange ration card, then they who live above the poverty line, okay, the annual income may be different by different state, but those who are having yellow ration card, okay, or the red ration card, okay, they fall below poverty line category, can apply for yellow ration card. Okay, so below poverty line people only will get the subsidized rate, okay, which is for 2 rupees per kg for wheat and 3 rupees per kg for rice. All right, and the entire bag or a basket of things which are actually being given, in which there are spices, in which there are food grains, cereals. Okay, if you really want to see, give me a minute. Distributed under PDS. Pulses tea powder, oil, 7 essential food kits distributed by Kerala government. Can you see that? Sorry for the disturbance. Yeah. So, what are the other items? Let me see. Let me see. Here. You can do a lot of research or studies on this also. This would easily sub. Okay. So these are with respect to COVID, Corona. Okay. But under public distribution system, the similar type of items are being distributed. Okay. At that price. All right. I hope I'm. Is this clear? Yes. Any doubts? Any queries? Please ask. Any doubts? Any queries? Please ask. So these are all elements which are important for daily living. Okay. Along with this, there is wheat, rice also being given. Okay. Cool. Let's go ahead.
Thereby assuring adequate availability of food grains in every corner of the country for feeding its vast population. The revolutionary initiative of the government of ensuring legal right of 5 kilogram food grains per person per month at rupees 3 per kg for rice, rupees 2 for wheat, and rupee 1 for coarse grains to two-thirds of the population of the country is a new challenge bestowed upon FCI in its 50th year of existence. The last 50 years have been equally eventful. Feathers in FCI's cap also include establishing pan-India operations of purchase centers for price support for wheat and paddy, thereby sustaining and enhancing production. Maintaining food grain stocks as high as 800 lakh metric tons. Introduction of modern rice mills in the country, which laid the foundation for rice milling.
Someone had unmuted them himself or herself. Any queries? Please ask. You are able to hear, see my screen, right? Any queries anyone has? Please ask. All right.
Making India a food grain exporter, FCI has made Indian wheat a brand to reckon with in the international market. During 2012-13, it exported 42 lakh metric tons of wheat and earned $1.32 billion. There is no stopping here. Future challenges are many, including handling the country's most ambitious program, the Food Security Act.
Okay, now till date also there are houses, okay, where you will see cooking is done with the help of burning wood, okay, raw fuel, okay, crude fuel which is actually known as, okay, and these are the families which the government would want to reach, okay, who are not able to even procure their own cooking fuel.
Food Corporation of India is all set to continue with its 50 years of glorious, memorable service to the nation.
Okay. Yes, class. Any comments? Any feedback? Any queries? Certainly, you should have some. How is it able to reach to the subsidized? Of course, it is actually giving the supply at subsidized rate. Okay, the government has to spend on the below poverty line. Okay, which is almost around 30% of your population as of now, and that's a huge number. And during Corona times, this has increased much more. Do you agree with me? Yes or no? Kindly give me a confirmation. There are 47 people online as of now, 48 to be precise. I hope you have understood this. All right, thank you. Cool. Let's go forward. Let's close this. Okay, so that is what you have seen. The ration color wise ration card system also you have seen. Okay, now let's come to network design. Okay, ideally now basically you need to know, okay, since we were learning about certain terminologies. Okay, this is traditional distribution, okay, and cross docking. What does cross docking mean? Okay, if you would see in the diagram which is there on your screen, okay, there are two suppliers, okay, which are specifically supplying, okay, to a group of retailers. Okay, now these yellow points are retailers, okay, or stores. Okay, this is a warehouse, centralized warehouse. So from supplier a truck will come, put it up over here for receiving, put away, storage, replenishment, picking and shipping. Okay, so this is a warehouse, okay, which is a traditional warehouse. From B supplier, okay, a truck will come and will do a to and fro between this warehouse and the supplier. Now, what will happen from here? Okay, a single truck will come, okay, and will carry the items as per the demand between these three chain of retailers. Okay, but here only what's happening is receiving, put away, storage, replenishment, picking, and shipment. So this is also known as distribution. But here, in terms of cross docking, all this movement, receiving, put away, storage, everything. Okay, now put away storage is not here, but there is only staging facility. It means temporary storage. So in lesser than 24 hours, the same what was done over here is again going to be moved, okay, to retailer 1, retailer 2, retailer 3, and another truck for retailer 4, since it's actually doing business on a large scale basis. Are you understanding this? Okay, so that's the basic difference between the traditional distribution and the cross docking. Cross docking majorly acts as a temporary storage for sorting, shipping, change of mode of transportation, okay, or change of the level of intermediary in a supply chain. Will you remember this? Okay. Another example, without cross docking, with cross docking. So why cross docking is useful? By the logic, okay, if you would see, if there is, say, warehouse 1 and these are stores. So from each of these warehouse, there will be 3 trucks which will be going, because there are 3 stores. So 1, 2, 3. From the warehouse 2, 1, 2, 3. So there are in total how many lines? 3 into 4, 12 lines. Can you see that? Yes or no? Which are going to these 3 different stores from 4 different warehouses. Okay, so in order to keep them in an optimal distribution, okay, there is a distribution center which acts as a cross docking facility where, okay, from all these warehouses, the centralized distribution center will collect all the material. Then from these warehouse, this distribution center, this could be a warehouse also, or distribution center also, which is giving them a cross docking facility. Okay, they will distribute it to the 3 stores. So how many lines are there? How many trucks will be used? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there is savage in terms of 5. Okay, so that is how efficiently cross docking facility is able to manage. Are we clear about this? Yes or no? So we have seen distribution with cross docking. Okay, and what is cross docking we have understood. Are we clear? Yes. That's one diagram. And through ration shops, they are able to reach people. Yes, very nice, good. Storage facilities and through ration shops, they are able to reach people. Yes, okay. And of course, they are using this method also with respect to the cross docking and the distribution center facility. Okay, are we clear? Of course, cross dock facility with distribution center. Okay, now see, this could be wheat being supplied from one of the warehouse. This could be rice. This could be salt. Okay, this could be oil. So they're all supplied to one distribution center. From there, it will be distributed across to these particular stores. Okay, it is circumstances dependent, situation dependent. Okay, and that is what we are going to see in our presentation. Okay, the network design. The network design is the prime responsibility of the logistic manager. Okay, of a firm. Which facilities and structure is used to provide products, materials to the customers at an optimum cost. Okay, this is important, at an optimum cost. Okay, so what is composing of network design? So logistic facilities typically include manufacturing plants, warehouses, cross dock operation, and retail stores. Okay, so here is where we also need to know one more model of working, which is known as a milk run model. Now I am exposing you to one more technical term. Cross docking done, cross docking with distribution center done. Okay, next is milk run model. Milk run model. Okay, so this is from the supplier, okay, to the distribution center. Okay, from the supplier to the distribution center who's supplying to the factory. Okay, so these are different suppliers. A truck will go collect all the supply from all the suppliers, go to the distribution center. Another truck B will go collect all the material from supplier which are located in that region, and then they will supply to the distribution center. Okay, here another truck will go to another region. Okay, collect all the supply from the suppliers and go to this distribution center. From this distribution center, okay, they will have an active transportation bit for the factory. So similarly, this for factory, which is for in the inbound logistics. So similarly for outbound logistics also there is a milk run model. Okay, something like this. Okay, this is a supplier, or I would rather say a distributor or a wholesaler. From that it is being distributed to the retail store. So how does milk is get distributed in the morning? So this is their supplier, say Amul. Okay, as a manufacturer or as a supplier also, or as a processing center, it will have a van. Okay, which will go and deliver milk to say Andheri area or Parla area. Okay, so it will go in the morning at around 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock. From this center will pick up and deliver at 5:30 or 5 o'clock at this retail store 1. Then at 5:30 it will deliver at retail store 2. Then at 6 o'clock it will deliver at retail store 3. Okay, what is it going to deliver? It is going to deliver milk in carrot boxes, carrot boxes. Okay, carrots simply mean milk. What are carrot boxes? I'll show you. Give me a minute. You might have seen this. Okay, this is known as milk carrot boxes. This thing. Okay, so the filled carrot boxes. Okay, like this. You able to see? So this filled carrot boxes are being delivered. Okay, in the morning 5:30, 5 o'clock, 5:30, and 6 o'clock. The truck will stand over here. Will not come back. Okay, what it will do at the end of the day or probably in the mid afternoon. Okay, by around 12 o'clock, it will again restart it. Okay, collect the empty crate from here, collect the empty crate from here, collect the empty crate from here, and then again come back. So that's known as the milk run model. Are we clear? This is specifically being done so that the cost in terms of transportation is being saved. Okay, the packaging also takes good amount of cost. The transportation takes good amount of cost, but at the end, if you see, Amul milk is the most cheapest milk as of now in the market, and there are different qualities of milk. Okay, the reason why, because it's able to do this model. Okay, accomplish this model in order to keep the optimum cost, the lowest cost, and hence it is able to command the market. Okay, are we clear about this? Yes or no? So we have seen the milk run model for distribution. milk run model for in inbound logistics also. Okay. Yes. So achieving competitive advantage lies in superior network design, as the real competition is not between two companies but between the efficiency and the effectiveness in managing their supply chain network. So the which model you use, how do you use, where do you use it, how effectively you are able to save the cost, that is most important. Okay. Now that which was there, which I had listed down over here, superior network design, right? Okay, it's listed down over here as well. Okay, so network design determine the type of inventory and the quantity to be stocked at each facility, and the assigning of customer orders for shipment. Network of facilities also include information and transportation as a part of entire structure, from where logistical operations such as processing of customer orders, maintaining inventory and material handling are performed. The network design must consider geographical variations. Okay. The factors which influence modification on network design are, okay, demand and supply, product assortments, changes in supplier source of supply, and manufacturing requirements. So manufacturing requirements, we have done that with the help of this model. Okay, demand and supply I have earlier covered with respect to onion prices. Okay, product assortments we have seen in terms of how assortment is done in terms of future supply group. Okay, and changes in supply source of supply or manufacturing requirements you are able to see when I spoke to you, or when we interfaced for Tata Motors. Okay, the tires example. Are we clear? So whatever examples what we have learned, okay, what we have, you have heard, it is not for just stating per se, but it is all that is going to come to you, okay, useful for learning these concepts. Okay, so the first step towards achieving competitive advantage lies in superior network design, as the real competition is not between two companies but between efficiency and effectiveness in managing their supply chain network. Are we clear? Okay, what is a supply chain network? You are able to see in front of you. Clear hai? Yes or no? I'm going to put this diagram also on your chat box. All right, chalo, let's understand this. Dhwani asked, won't the cost increase in case of cross docking? Okay, now cross docking is majorly being done for facilitation of assortment. Okay, for facilitation of mode of change of transportation. Okay, or sometimes to break bulk. Also, break bulk means from bulk it is being distributed into small quantities. Okay, so cross docking specifically helps. The reason is why, because if you might have understood here in this diagram, okay, how is cross docking helping? Now see, one truck is transporting this, another truck is transporting this, and third truck is transporting this, fourth truck is transporting this. So how many trucks are transporting here over here? There are 7. How many were used over here? Dhwani, can you tell me how many were used over here in this diagram? You are able to see in front of you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. So 12 aisles of transportation were being used. Okay. But here only 7. So they are still saving 3. Right. Only 7 means they are still saving 5. Okay. Not 3, 5. The cost of transportation of those 5 trucks will be reduced. So that's how it is effective. Are we clear? Yes or no? Kindly give me a confirmation, Dhwani. All right, cool. Thank you. Yes, Tanvi, good. Okay. Now, this thing, network design, is going to come in detail more also. Okay. As of now, I'm just introducing this to you so that you are taking a cognizance of this. It's more in detail. I'm going to show you. Give me a second. Okay. Now, this is slide number 34 where we are. Okay. We're going to cover today 35 and we're going to stop. Okay. And if you come down, if you go down here, there are some interesting stuffs which are going to be shown to you. Here, break bulk. Okay. In warehousing and milk run model. Give me a second. Whew. Here, milk run model. Can you see that? Okay, so it's going to be there in detail again. Okay, in the actual network design distribution center. Okay, so this is going to be in, now see, direct shipment. What you saw, this is the most traditional network. Okay, direct shipment network. For some products, it is still being preferred. Okay, but for other products, it is never preferred. Okay, when we are learning this, we will come to know about more about this. So this is on slide number 280, 270. Okay, between 270 to 280, you're going to learn all this. So as of now, we are just on slide number 35. Okay, so more, and there are total number of 460 slides only, and there are more remaining, by the way. If you want to learn logistics, that is how you will have to do it. Okay, that is the content what you might have to cover. Some part of content is not there in your syllabus. However, I have kept it because the same material is being used for teaching MBA classes as well. All right. I hope you are enjoying and learning. Yes or no? So every day I'm exposing you to some technical terms. Slowly, steadily, okay, you will be master in this subject. Okay, right? Now I'm going to show you from, okay, now this is what I have scripted in the notes. Okay, so all these diagrams are also there in the notes. Okay, you're able to see milk run. Okay, now today another case study what I have thought for you is harvesting bananas, which is from farm, which is a supplier. Okay, farm to the market. Okay, we're going to see how it's actually being done. So harvesting to containerization. So this is the operation which you need to know. Okay, harvesting to containerization. Now this video does not have any sound. Okay, you're going to see the picture of it. Okay, this video is there available on internet also. Please have a look at it. Okay, I'm going to show you this video without the sound. Is that clear? Any queries, please ask. Any queries, please ask. Okay, so the brand is Dole, Gole, okay, which is specifically supplying fruits, okay, and vegetables from where is this area? Costa Rica, okay, which is Africa, to US. All right. So this is a banana plantation. And see how they are being harvested, how they are being maintained, how they are being assorted, okay, how they are being cleaned. Okay, you need to observe that. Is my screen visible to you, all of you? Yes, give me a confirmation, please. Is a video visible?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Bansi. So that's how a protective covering is specifically being put on top of this fruit. They check the measurement. When it's okay, then they will carry out the harvesting process. See how it's being harvested. Though they put this cushion pads so that while they are being moved, the bananas don't rub on each other and they don't crush each other. Very carefully lifted, okay, and then the banana leaf, the banana trunk is being cut, and the parts of the same are also being used as raw material for other industry. Then they are being sledged onto a lever and then hanged and transported. So they are pulled along a chain. Can you see that? A lever. Very traditionally being done. Then brought to the processing center at the nearby location. So they'll give a batch number to that particular unit. Okay, describing the items in detail, how much is the quantity, quality. Then they will check each individual, okay, as a batch quality testing, and they're being cut as per the bunches, put into a water tank, which is also being processed and again used back. Again here they are being cut in uh, number of 6 or sometimes 12 also. You see that the extra item is again placed loose. They are being washed over here, checked for the weight. That much amount of tray will be sent forward for labeling. Okay, then they are being boxed. See the way how they are being boxed. Now here in India, the bananas which come, okay, you are seeing that they are being kind of stored in plastic crate boxes. Okay, but over there for transportation, they are using corrugated fiber boxes because these bananas will have to be kind of shipped from on intercontinental basis. So the cardboard boxes are lighter in weight, hence they are being packaged in these cardboard boxes. Are we clear? Yes or no? See how so technically they are being packed. So the maximum utilization of the space in terms of packaging and protective cover also being put on the banana. Are you able to see this? And this is in a perforated cardboard box which has got the capacity to for free flow of air. Okay. Perforated cardboard boxes means they have holes at the side, at the top, at the below. Okay. You see that these. Okay. But yet inside that they are being wrapped in plastic bags. This is then being weighed, labeled and put for transportation, okay, in terms of containers. So that's one master container which is then being packed and then shipped into the transportation vehicle, or could be in the container also. Have a look. So we have seen future supply chain, how containers, the types of containers also. Okay. So farm to processing, transportation, packaging. The entire quality check is being performed. Are we clear? Yes. Any queries and doubts, please ask. All right, let's stop for the day. It's almost around 11:02 now. Let me take your attendance for the day. Let's check. Yes, so nicely done. Yes, seriously. and the quality of packaging differs. The products what you are consuming in India, okay, they are quite very different, okay, but what's going to US is much more reformed, okay, processed and carefully checked. Even the products what are being exported from India, okay, they are also different. They are quite very quality conscious, because if one item from entire shipment goes is not of good quality, the entire shipment is rejected. Are we clear? So a good quality check happens before it's being transported. Okay, let me check your attendance whether it's got downloaded. So this is the earlier class attendance. Okay, let me stop the recording first.